Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about false memory obsessive-compulsive disorder, false memory OCD, which is a subtype of OCD. It is really confusing because you might have a particular memory where you go back in your head and you're thinking, what actually happened? Did this happen? Did that happen? So it might be an action, something you said, and you're thinking, did that actually happen? And then all your kind of memories become skewed and twisted, and you'll add things on that didn't happen in your imagination. That's the thing with obsessive compulsive disorder. I honestly believe that a lot of people with it are so sensitive and creative, and your imagination just goes wild. Things that get added on that didn't actually happen, and then your sense of reality kind of changes, and you think, well, I can't remember what's real and what isn't, because your mind makes up so much stuff that isn't real, and everything just becomes so irrational that it's scary. To put it bluntly, it's really scary, and I don't want this video to trigger anyone today, and that is something, if you are really struggling at the minute with OCD, I'd probably say don't watch it, because there'll be some kind of examples of things that I went through, and it's not done to, I don't want to scare anyone or trigger anyone. It's just, I thought it'd be best to kind of put it out there what actually happened with me, and show that you can actually get better, even when things seem so hopeless, because I've been there where things have felt really hopeless, and you kind of think, I can't do this again. I've probably been to that place probably I'd say two major times, but there's probably 3 times when it happened like that, where it became so bad, the thoughts, the intrusive thoughts, the compulsions, that you think, I can't, how do I get better from this, but you can. And that's what I wanted to instill with these videos, because it can feel really tough and really scary. You don't know where to turn, but I want you to know there is hope, and I want to be sharing in these videos the tools that have helped me along the way. But in today's video, it's going to be about false memories. So please, if you think it's going to trigger you, I'd probably say don't watch it. But I wanted to start with what happened with me, because in terms of false memories, I didn't really think I'd been affected by it. But when I look back on it now, and I see like little things I was doing that were basically false memory OCD. So I'll go to the more the less kind of intrusive and scary ones, because OCD likes to pick on the things that you care about the most. Say something like checking the cooker. I'd check the cooker, and that's always been a little thing for me. It's been a little compulsion that's kind of followed me for years, that one. And I guess I still do it now, but it's not got excessive in my checking, and that's fine, because we all have those doubts and like to check things. But for example, if I was checking the cooker that it was off, if I was about to leave the house, I'd go and have a look, and I think, yep, it's off. It's okay, everything's safe, I'm fine to leave. Now, but then I'd get in the car and drive off and think, and I'd have this thought of me turning the cooker on purposely, and I'd think, did I do that or didn't I? I'm like, no, don't be silly. I'm making that up. It's not a real memory, but I can see myself in this memory recall, turning the cooker on, but it's not real, and I see that now as irrational, and I think, oh, I'm just making things up now, and it's just trying to keep me in that cycle of that OCD likes to keep you in, where you compulsively checking, ruminating whether you have done something, or something dangerous, and just to keep you in that position of safety, because that's what OCD basically is, that safety-seeking behavior. So then we kind of progress from there, as OCD likes to kind of move these obsessions around. And I'd go to things like, maybe when I was working years ago, I might put some, I was rushing out to work, and I think, if I get a headache, put some paracetamol in my back pocket. And then I got this intrusive thought that what if it slipped out the packet of paracetamol and a young child would pick it up and swallow them and overdose on tablets. So that was a real issue for me for quite a time. And it's that kind of sense of hyper responsibility. And it, you know, I would have all these visions in my head of things that could happen, or, you know, what if it did happen? And I don't know, because maybe I don't remember the packet slipping out. You know, and you can see how these thoughts just escalate. And I have all these like visions, like memories of something that may have happened but didn't happen, you know. And that is, you know, I got quite bad over that. You know, I really had this sense of vigilance, and but excessive. It's excessive vigilance. You know, we can all be careful about what we do, but when it gets obsessive and, you know, it's hypervigilance, and it became out of control. You know, I was really upset with it because it would just followed me around all the time. I'd be on high alert. You know, if it did anything, like, you know, I would be thinking I'd put some slug pellets in the garden, and then it would be, what if a child saw those things and picked them up, those pellets, and swallowed them, you know? And I'd have all these horrible kind of visions of something happening that didn't happen, and, you know, and thinking that maybe I tread some out somewhere else, and it's just it became ridiculous. And I see that now, you know, but I'd get all these false memories about things, and it really like really messed me up for some time, that. And, you know, and I don't want anyone to go to those places I did with, you know, because OCD is so creative and it loves to make stuff up. And you are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You know, they are so irrational. And I see that now. But at the time, I just couldn't see it, you know, and I'd break down in tears at work because I just couldn't take it anymore. It was overtaking my life. You know, I'd be hyper vigilant about things at work, the way things were placed. You know, I'd be like, well, what if that fell off and hurt someone, you know? So you know, and I know if you've got OCD, you're super, super sensitive, and you're caring, and you want to make sure everyone's okay. And that is what it is, you know, but it's just excessive, and it's really, it can be really damaging. So, you know, but you can get better. It's the way we engage with these, and they become compulsions in themselves, you know, because we're constantly engaging and ruminating on those thoughts. So over time, it kind of escalated. And once I had my children, that's when things took a turn for the worst. You know, it really became way out of control. You know, it was, the thing is though, with my children, that, like I say, OCD likes to hurt you where you care the most, you know. So obviously I care about my children so much, and I'd, you know, never want to hurt them. But then I'd then get into thinking that, what if I harm my children and I don't remember it happening? So I'd have all these scary thoughts and images in my head, and then I would get so upset because it's just the complete opposite of who I am. But that doubt, that's the seed of doubt with OCD. It makes you contemplate, well, what if again? What if I like this thought? What if I wanted to do this thought? What if, you know, what if I could do this? And then you start questioning whether it's an urge, which it isn't. You know, it's completely irrational. This is not you. These are just thoughts. They are just thoughts. And I want you to know that, you know, you are not going to act on your thoughts. And they can seem so scary, because when it kind of took a turn to kind of focus on my children and other children, you know, I'd feel that sense of shame and guilt about having these thoughts. And it just took off from there. And I was in a really, really dark place after my second child, actually. I did have a tough time with my first. That was more I'd say in the pregnancy, I just became very overwhelmed with the big change, because I mean, it's a big life changing thing having a child. And, you know, it really kind of made me question everything. And I just became very scared in pregnancy. And I was seeing someone from the mental health team, the perinatal mental health team, that was coming to see me and talk things through. But I did seem to get better after I had her, you know, my first child. But then and then after my second, I was quite well for some time. But then the third, I don't know what happened, if there was just lots of little things. I think, like I say, the little things that had been building up over years, like the hypervigilance and checking, you know, the responsibility factor. I just think it all kind of snowballed over time. And then it hit me where it hurts me most, which is my children, and the thought that I'd harm a child, I couldn't face that thought, that it even being a possibility, even being a memory. I can't go back to a certain situation to kind of look at what happened, but I'd question whether like an action took place or I'd said something, and you know, and you lose all sense of, you know, that kind of rationality. It's you know, you can't pick out what's real, what isn't real, what your mind is making up, you know, all these false scenarios that didn't happen. And I can see that now, you know, and I look back on these thoughts and think, you know what, none of that happened. You know, it was just, but the more you engage with it, the more real they seem. And, you know, you kind of start adding like your mind will start adding other little bits on, and they're not real memories. It's just OCD being creative, which is what it likes to do. It keeps it alive. The more creative you get, you know, the more the mind kind of creates these false memories and scenarios in your head. You know, it's false. It didn't happen. And that's what I want this video to prove to you. You know, if you're experiencing something like that, you know, this doesn't happen. And it really did get me to a really, really scary place where I just couldn't function anymore. Like I say, my daughter was about 6 months. There's been a few different things that happened. I had also had an OCD at the time where I'd be scared of standing on like sharp objects. So if, for example, I was walking over grass and I'd felt something sharp if I was wearing sandals over grass, and I think, well, what if it was a needle? What if it infected me with something? You know, I'm going to the worst case scenario here. You know, it's that false narrative that, you know, that something bad is going to happen because I've stood on something sharp, which was clearly just a blade of grass. And, you know, and I see it as ridiculous now, but at the time I was so scared. And I think just after that, I remember just after that happened, and then a scenario happened with my child, and I couldn't remember what had happened. And I couldn't function anymore. I was just a mess. I actually asked my husband if he would take me because I wanted to admit myself, because I thought I'd just lost it. You know, I need to admit myself and section myself, because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I just wanted the thoughts to stop. But I didn't, because I remember at the time, like, you know, going into the crisis, see the crisis team, and, you know, they really didn't want me to admit myself. You know, they said it would be the worst place for me to go, and I realised that would probably be unhelpful to me at the time. But, you know, if you need that, you need that. And sometimes it's being at those places where you do start to get better, because I've been at some, like I say, some really, really tough times, and I have gone up from there. And I'd say that was quite life-changing, that appointment when I saw someone, because I didn't want, you know, they gave me tablets to calm me down. I think it was promazine, something like that. But they were asking me, have you had thoughts of ending your life or things like suicidal thoughts? And I did say yes, but it was more that it wasn't that I wanted to do that, because I want to be alive. I want to be back to normal. I want to, and just enjoy my children and, and my family. And I want everything to be normal again. And I just wanted the thoughts to stop. And I think people might be able to relate to that. It's not that you want to end things, it's just you want the thoughts to stop. And that's the place I was at. And from there, I spoke to someone about medication, and they actually put me onto a medication I'd never heard of before, which some of you might know. And please let me know in the comments if this is something that maybe you've been on, or you've had experience with it, which was clomipramine, which is a very old OCD drug and probably the gold standard with medication. But from there on, it did start to help me, but I did go and stay away from my family at the time. I didn't get admitted, but I did go and stay away from the family. And I think I stayed with my parents, but not with my children, my three children and my husband, which was really hard on them. And but I did think I did the right thing at the time, was to stay away and get the new medication in my system. And things did start to get better from there. And I was really hopeful when I started on that new medication. And it has been helpful for me over the years, but it's a very personal thing, medication. And, one medication isn't always the right one for you. Sometimes it's a bit of trial and error, but it's something I'm going to be talking about more in a future video, because sometimes it's a combination of medication and talk therapy, and not necessarily just talk therapy, but actual therapy like CBT or exposure and response prevention, metacognitive. One of these is usually quite helpful while you're also taking medication, but it's not for everyone. And everyone's different, like I say, everyone has different obsessions, so some of the things I've been talking about are common OCD obsessions, but it might be one that you've not dealt with. Everybody is different, but it does tend to target the things that you care about the most. So obviously children, I care about my children. I never want to hurt them. So with these videos, I just want to let you know that you can get better, and things can be so much more positive in the future. I would never have believed at that point in time that I'd be where I am now. I've actually gone on to have 2 more children since then, but things can really change for you and get so much better. So I just wanted to say, just please hang in there. It's going to be okay. It really is. These are not your thoughts. They're not urges. They're not real memories. It's not reality. It's just the OCD being creative and setting up that false scenario, false narrative. It's not real. And I think the more we can separate ourselves from that and just say, it's just a thought, it's nothing to do with me, that's where the changes start happening. But it's being really, you have to keep that up, because it's hard. I'll be first to admit it's really hard. You can slip back, and it's never just a straight path to getting better. Don't get me wrong. It took a while to get me back to being fully functioning and doing all the normal stuff that parents do, and just functioning normally. But you can get better. So yeah, I just wanted to come on and talk about that, because it's something I'd never heard of before, false memory OCD, until it really started happening to me, and it really affected me when it was the subject matter. It really bothered me, and but yeah, just hang in there. You're not your thoughts, and you're going to get better. Please share in the comments if you can relate to anything I've spoken about in today's video, and please stay tuned for more videos, because I'm going to be doing a lot more in and around the topic of OCD and anxiety. Something I'm passionate about because I've experienced it myself. I can relate to what you're maybe going through. And yeah, so let me know if there's something you'd like me to talk about in future videos, and I'll see you next time.